This hair is gonna take some getting used to on camera. This is very different for me. Hello book reading friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Mel, and today I bring you guys another reading challenge where I try and read 100 pages every day for a week. Now for the past week, I haven't really read much. I only read both Sundays, but then throughout the week, my reading was pretty much mute. I didn't really pick up any books, whether it's because I wasn't feeling it or because I just didn't have time. Whichever of the two, reading hasn't really gotten done. And so last time around, I did a video where I switched screen time for reading time, and it really amped up my productivity levels. I found so much time to read, and it was honestly really fun to challenge myself and see how much I could get done. And so I thought this would be a really nice follow-up to that particular video and see how much a girl can read in a single week by putting that bare minimum of 100 pages a day. Now you guys know me, I'm a very chaotic reader. There's days where I don't read at all, and then there's days where I read 2 books, and then there's times where I read a book in one sitting, and then there's days where I put off work and I just read, and so it's all over the place. I haven't really developed any sort of routine. So we're at it again with another challenge, and we'll see how we do in the span of a week. As before I get started with the video, I do need to say a massive thank you to the sponsor of today's video who made it all possible, and that is Basmo. If you guys are not aware, Basmo is a reading app that allows you to track all of your reading, set reading goals for yourself, so that you can keep better track of how much you're reading, how you're doing the reading, and how you can accomplish your own reading goals. Basmo is also the app that I'm going to be using for this next week to track my reading, see how I'm doing, and really make sure that I'm staying on track with at least reading 100 pages a day. Basmo has a bunch of cool features once you open the app, and I have to say one of my favorite things is that you can have reading sessions, and it will calculate the amount of hours or the amount of minutes that you're reading. You can take notes as you go, and personally, as a person that annotates her books, takes notes in her books, I absolutely love the fact that I can have all of those notes in a single place so that it's easier to browse instead of flipping pages. With the app, you can also scan pages. It gives you 2 options, either to take it as a photo or to literally transcribe every word from the page that you are scanning, which is a really unique feature. If you start a book, you can also set reading reminders to let you know when you're supposed to drop everything early and sit down and read for however long you want. And you can also then look at your statistics to see what percentage you are at as a reader, how many pages you read the past week, how many hours. And if you want to check Basmo out, I will be leaving a link at the top of the description so you guys can download the app and check it out for yourselves. Again, you guys will see a little bit more of it as I go throughout the week. And yes, let us get right into it. So in my typical chaotic self, I have found myself in a little bit of a pickle because right now I am in the midst of 5 different books, and I just don't know when I'll see the end of these, and I hope that throughout this week I can at least finish some of these so that it's over. These are all of the books that I'm currently reading. Mistakes have been made, and I am definitely rethinking my life choices. And so first off, I've got Project Hail Mary, which I am both reading physically and with an audiobook. I also this morning started Sword of Destiny, which is the 2nd book in the Witcher series. I also haven't finished The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I am almost 50% through Shadow of the Wind, which I'm reading in Spanish, La Sombra del Viento, and I've only gone like 119 pages in, so there's also that. And then the book that I started months ago that I still haven't finished, and that is Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. So I literally have a live stream with you guys in just a tiny little bit, so I think I'll give you guys the liberty to choose something for me and see what I end up reading, and we'll go from there. So I think we can get started. Today is Wednesday. We'll go on for about a week, and we'll see at the end of the week how many pages I managed to read, how many books I managed to finish, and what I learn about myself within this journey. So it's definitely about to be an interesting one. We'll see where it takes us.
decisions were made today. Hi friends. So remember when I told you that I was in the midst of 5 books and I didn't know what to read, so I was gonna give you guys the choice to choose for me. I ended up reading none of those today, which is probably honestly the worst choice I could have made, but it's a choice that made me happy. I'm considering this self-care, although some people would argue that it's not, because I started Words of Radiance by Mr. Brandy Sandy. Literally, I've been reading Mistborn for what feels like forever now. I'm still not done with Well of Ascension. And every time I go into a fantasy book, the one thing I think about is how much I want to be reading Stormlight. So I'm reading Stormlight just because it feels right and it's what I've been realistically wanting to read. I did not get to read 100 pages today and I'm super tired, but I got to page 84 of Words of Radiance. So not 100 pages on this first day, but honestly, I had a lot of fun being on the live stream with you guys and just chatting with you. It had been a hot minute since we'd done one, so I don't have any regrets. But I truly cannot say enough good things about Stormlight Archive, and I know that at this point I must sound like a repetitive record, like just a broken CD is what I should sound like at this point. But it's truly phenomenal, and I am constantly in awe of Sanderson's writing, particularly with the series. At this point, I've read some of Mistborn and then some of Skyward. I mean, I've read the first and second books for each, but the writing in this one is so vastly different to those two, while it still retains that quality of having really three-dimensional characters and having really intricate worlds that, although the page counts are quite intimidating, they are very easy to understand. This one, though, shines on its own because of the writing style. It's so whimsical and flowery and poetic that I find the other books from him that I've read do not have. And for me, that's part of the reason why Stormlight is so special and why it shines brighter than the rest. It's because of that tone in writing and the fact that reading those chapter starters and those excerpts of The Way of Kings and just the way that the first book ended, it gave me an existential crisis over and over again. And that is a feeling that has so far been unbeatable with other Sanderson books. So I'm just, again, super glad to be here and to be reading more of Shallan and Kaladin and Dalinar. I have seen a peek of maybe Adel and Shallan, and is this where the book is taking us? Is this gonna be Endgame? I was also discussing with Liv whose villain origin story we're reading. We have theories. She says it's gonna be Shallan or Kaladin. I say it's possibly Dalinar, but Dalinar is a very honorable man. So I really don't know, but it could be either of the three because all of those are just a villainous arc waiting to happen because all of them have enough motif to go there, in my opinion. So we'll see. But so far, there's been quite a bit of world building and really fascinating things at that. We finally have some semblance of knowledge as to what is gonna go down with these people, and it's called the Everstorm. And I am incredibly scared for them because if there's anything that I learned about Sanderson is that he spares no one. I'm also really intrigued to see if the ending of Way of Kings is like factual or if this is some sort of imposter. If you know, you know. I can't say very specific things because spoilers. But all in all, already loving this way more than Well of Ascension. I'm so sorry to say it for all the Mistborn lovers. I shall check back with you guys tomorrow morning. Happy Friday, my loves. Hello, how are we doing today? I didn't read yesterday, so that's a great start to this vlog. I felt very accomplished at the start of this and I was like, oh my god, I started Words of Radiance. It's exactly the book that I wanted to read. Having so much fun. And then yesterday I was like, okay, I'm gonna read at 9:30. I set my little goal on Basmo, and then I never actually read. I had completely forgotten that we needed to get the AC unit cleaned yesterday because it's been leaking, like actual like pouring water, and it's been an absolute nightmare. And they got here earlier than I had expected, so they got here at 10 a.m. and everything, like cleaning and everything, wrapped up at like mid-afternoon. So I had to eat, and then I was like, okay, Mel, you need to film. Got ready, filmed 2 videos, then edited at night while I ate, and then I never really picked up a book to read because I didn't have the time. So today I am a determined girl. It is a new day and we are going to a coffee
coffee shop. My preferred coffee shop. We are going there and we are staying there for as long as we can so that I have no distractions. I can specifically read. I'm taking Words of Radiance with me, and so that we can have some fun. I can drink a chai latte, which is, you guys know, my favorite, and I can have a little breakfast moment over there as well. And we're going to compensate for yesterday, okay? And I'm back home. Hello. That coffee shop didn't last too long. I did have breakfast and it was wonderful. I don't like too many people in the same place, so I was out of there very quickly. I obviously took Words of Radiance with me. I know there are the Shallan stans out there who are like, oh my god, that's my favorite POVs, and I love that for y'all. I'm sure that I'll keep warming up to her. There's definitely an air of mystery with Shallan where she keeps reinforcing the fact that she knows something from her past, but she keeps suppressing it. And I am wondering, given her abilities, if it has something to do with the Knights Radiant or not. But it seems that she does know. It seems that, oh, hi Chloe. It seems that she is in the know with this particular thing, but she doesn't want to admit it, so she keeps suppressing it. But yes, it's definitely an intriguing POV so far. I think it's moving a lot slower than Kaladin's POV. Kaladin's POV, because he is with Adolin and Dalinar, and you know, he is at the forefront of the war at the moment, it's so much more interesting and political that I am much more engaged in his chapters. Also, Kaladin in general is my favorite character in Stormlight so far. I think he is the character that, to this moment, we have seen the most development with, and the character who is so complex. I do believe at some point we'll get more depth to Dalinar and Shallan and Jasna and Adolin and every other character, especially Adolin. I feel like Adolin's gonna have a really good arc. It's a character that seems very self-centered. He's very cocky. He is very spoiled because he's a royal. I do think he's gonna have a great character arc further on. But as of now, Kaladin is the one character that we've seen come not necessarily full circle, but that has definitely gone the furthest on the pages that we've read, like actively on the page, because he went from a really dark mental space, and he's still quite there, but he is self-aware that his mindset and the trauma that he has suffered is something that he needs to conquer, and it's something that he needs to heal from, and he is taking active steps so far in Words of Radiance to own up to his potential somewhat without really letting the people know what he's truly capable of. But he is owning up to that leadership, and he is owning up to the fact that he needs to lead Bridge 4 and he needs to protect the Colin family, and he is still in denial of his abilities and his power. But I can't wait to see where it goes, because that's another Knights Radiant potential that I'm seeing. But the note that I took within the 20 pages that I read was the progress and development with Cal so far has been phenomenal. How he is taking leadership of Bridge 4 and is preparing to train 1,000 men whilst running part of the Royal Guard and potentially helping reinstate the Knights Radiant is truly admirable. And the way he stands up and addresses Dalinar is one of my favorite parts of what I just read. How he is not afraid to address him in whatever way he feels comfortable instead of what everyone else does, because he understands his story and his trauma and is trying to overcome it. Truly beautiful. And I just love Cal, and I love his bravado. I love that it's very much real and it doesn't come from a fake place. I truly admire his persona, because the way that Dalinar was like, you know, people usually called me Bright Lord, or a more formal title than Sir. And Kaladin was like, well, every person that I've called a Bright Lord before has betrayed me, so I'm not gonna do that in the hopes that you won't. And Sir is equally as respectful, so you're just gonna have to settle to whatever I want to call you in a respectful manner. And so I absolutely love how, I guess, he stood up for himself in a very respectful way, and I expect nothing less from Kaladin. So did read 20 pages, but I feel like we got to see a great side of Cal in those 20 pages. And now I'm gonna sit down again, have some chai latte, and I believe at some point we're gonna watch You season 3 today because it just came out today, but I do want to read some more right now. Just listen to my ambience, get further ahead. Hello friends, so it is time for an update. Hi, it is Saturday. I didn't end up updating you guys yesterday after the last update that I gave you. I literally fell asleep on the couch and then I was a goner. Goner. One of the two. I was absolutely asleep, and so I woke up today and then I read, and then today's just been one of those days where I've been like scatteredly reading. I had a movie night with my patrons this morning, so technically not a movie night, and then my brother and I watched You because we're obviously watching season 3, and then we went to dinner with my aunt and her husband, and so that's been the majority of my day. It's just kind of been socializing instead of actually actively reading, but I have read 100 pages today. Hello. I tracked my reading with the app, and let's see how long I read today because I'm interested to know. So today I read for an hour and 20 minutes, which is good because my daily reading goal is at the very least an hour. And I am very confident that tomorrow I'll actually make great progress because tomorrow I have sprints with the Citadel, and those usually run for like 5 to 7 hours a piece. So I know that at the very least I'll get 4 active hours of reading there, and I am very excited about that because I need those 4 hours to compensate for everything that I haven't read this week, which is what I usually take advantage of for Sundays. So I've read 100 pages of Words of Radiance. I'm currently on page 286, but at this point of the book I am not necessarily bored, but I'm just very uninterested with what's happening. Like, yes, everything's setting up to something, and that's something that we know with Sanderson's. Like, he's really gifted and very crafty with the setup towards all of the big things. And I was talking to Liv, and she was like, oh, sister, you're not ready for the ending of Words of Radiance. Like, it's even crazier than Way of Kings. And Way of Kings was already a pretty wild ending. And so I'm very ready to see what that plot twist is gonna be. Also, Jasna, I can't say anything else because it's a spoiler. If you've read Words of Radiance, then you know up until the point where I'm at. Jasna. What? I was not expecting that, and I really wish I had caught my reaction. I was reading, my brother and I were reading yesterday together. He was reading some Spider-Man comics, and then I was reading this. And the way that I just gasped, I was like, oh, what? Like, I couldn't believe what I was reading, and it took me a second to realize what had actually happened on page. That definitely was not something that I was expecting. And so after that, it's just been building, and it keeps on building. We see this very standoffish relationship with Kaladin and Adolin, and I'm really wondering if, because yes, we know that Kaladin has a lot of animosity towards Light Eyes because of the way that he's been treated by them time and time again. I wonder if a lot of his resentment for Adolin comes from a place of mirroring, because as he's been talking to, I guess, the Blade Master or the person who's training, is it Renarin? He basically tells Kaladin, like, you and Adolin are very similar, mister, because he didn't want to be trained either. And Cal's like, I'm nowhere near similar to this privileged brat. Like, do not even go there. And so I wonder if Cal just sees a lot of his personal qualities in Adolin, and that's just kind of, you know, It's a little clash there of ideas and personalities that's making him really not like Adolin. Because beside the bratty factor and the fact that he's, you know, a high prince and whatever, which I totally would understand Kaladin's resentment for that, there has to be something more, something deeper that might be making Kaladin react a certain way. As for Shallan, still working on her name. Maybe I'll re-listen to the audiobook and reacquaint myself with her name. But sis just needs to get to the Shattered Plains. I'm like, honey, sweetheart, I know it's probably gonna take a little bit longer, but like, can we just get there? I'm like, I love this journey for her. I'm loving Pattern, like Pattern and Syl. All of the Spren are just 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely love everything they have to bring to the story. Let her get there. I need her to meet Adolin. I need her to meet Cal. I just need to see what will happen when her and Cal meet up, how that's going to evolve in terms of powers and Knight's Radiant. I just need to see it all. So yes, I've just been trying to get myself through all of that build-up so that I can actually get to the really good parts. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have some really good parts, fingers crossed. I know tomorrow I'm gonna try and alternate through several books because I really want to read tomorrow. It's the one day of the week where I really just set time aside for plain up reading. And so I know that if I get myself in this mindset of just blocking everything else out, I can actually alternate between Project Hail Mary, Shadow of the Wind, and then Words of Radiance. So that is the plan for tomorrow. So today is Sunday. We are 4 days into the experiment. It's been an experiment, all right. So today is Sunday, and again, my plan for today is just read, read, read. I am sure that at some point I might get distracted. I do have another movie night with my Patreons because we're watching all of the Marvel movies and we're nearing the end. So today is Captain Marvel, so I do know that for that. I'm gonna be slightly distracted. However, rest of the day, it's free game and all I wanna do is read. It is currently 8:02. Sprints are in an hour and I am in dire need of organizing the living room because it is slightly disastrous and I hate when I see like things scattered everywhere. So I am going to take a bit of my time and just organize everything, make sure that everything is in its rightful spot. Let's go. My latte has been secured. I actually ordered it iced and it got here hot, so I'll take that as a sign from the universe to just get cozy today and relish on all of those fall vibes which don't exist here. So again, I'll be the great pretender today. It's fine. And it's super cute. They actually left a really big note. I mean, big-ish. Que tengas un excelente fin de semana. Thank you. It means have a great weekend. It's very cute. So I'm about to have breakfast while I drink this. Sprints are in 20 minutes. The house is organized, which feels fantastic. And I can just focus on reading and drinking some really cool drinks. Not cool, hot. So I have been sprinting for about 3 hours and 50 minutes and I have met my goal for the day. Hi. I am currently on page 157 of Project Hail Mary. The audiobook for Project Hail Mary is so well done. The narrator I am in absolute awe of. They truly know how to put the intention behind the words, how to make it comedic, how to make it interesting and engaging for the reader. And I love that there's, and I guess that attests more to the writing more than anything, how there is such a great mix between comedy and then scientific facts and then intrigue in a way that even if you don't necessarily understand science and the ins and outs of it, it is still digestible for the reader, and I absolutely love that. I have oftentimes found myself wondering with this book what the research process looks like for Andy Weir, how much of this is factual, how much of this is actually accurately scientifically possible. possible and how much of this is purely fiction, because it reads like reality. It reads like something that is absolutely doable. And it's honestly scary to think about all of the things that we don't know, all of the things that could potentially happen in our solar system and outside of it. Like, the universe is so expansive. And I think this book really puts that into perspective, how we're just a minuscule part of this grand scheme of things. And I absolutely love Andy Weir's writing in this. The main character, Ryland, again, is so hilariously funny. All of his takes during this, he has got amnesia, obviously. He has woken up in a ship and he has no idea who he is, what he's doing there, where he is directed, and what his mission is. He has absolutely forgotten every detail. And this man literally relishes in the tiniest of things. I don't think he intends as a character to be funny. He just is. And strangely enough, which I guess would be my concern with books with characters like those and instances like those, that it feels too forced and that it feels like the writer is trying to make it funny. And this one doesn't feel like that. Like, it genuinely feels like the character is just reacting to things, and coincidentally enough, they're funny. And honestly, I find that that's really hard to do and accomplish. And so the fact that Andy Weir is doing that so seamlessly, not only does it make me not want to put the book down, but it also makes me want to read The Martian, which thankfully I do own, and I'll definitely, if it's the same narrator, I'll definitely get the audiobook for that as well. And this book is also such a great mix of military sci-fi with first contact sci-fi. Got a bunch of different elements. You never truly know where it's going until you do. And I love that. I love the fact that nobody is in the know. Ryland doesn't know what's happening, and he is kind of remembering as he goes and finding out details as he goes, discovering things as he goes. So I love the fact that we are finding the information with him as exposition. It's so well done because it doesn't feel like an info dump. It doesn't feel confusing. I genuinely don't know what I'm gonna read. We're in the middle of a sprint right now. I don't know what I'm gonna be reading during this sprint because, again, I kind of do want to keep reading this because the audiobook is so good. At the same time, it's been really difficult for me to find openings to read Shadow of the Wind throughout the week. So I think I'm gonna switch now to Shadow of the Wind and read a little bit of that. Let's go. I got some really cool classical ambience to go with it. Hello friends. So I love that I've been literally sitting on this couch all day. I just took my evening shower. I did wash my hair because it was time. This lighting, I'm like in chiaroscuro right now. But I switched, like I told you guys earlier, from Project Hail Mary to La Sombra del Viento. I'm also matching, that's cute. I'm so in love with this book. I have a day off tomorrow and I low-key, high-key, want to go to the bookstore and get the second book in the series because I'm really loving it. And it's really making me realize that I just didn't read the right books in Spanish when I was in school. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Like, oh, when you get work assigned with literature, you typically don't like reading, or you typically just don't like the books that you were assigned. Maybe the classes were not as interactive as they should have been. And I think that was definitely my case with Hispanic literature. The books that my school chose at the moment when I was in school just weren't the most engaging books, just weren't the best books to pick. And most of them we didn't even end up reading because we didn't have time. And so I really love the fact that I have picked out this book for the Patreon book club and that we're genuinely all enjoying it. It's just making my heart so warm. And Carlos Ruiz Zafón's writing is just out of this world. It's the right mix between whimsical and lyrical, but very much grounded in reality while still being fantastical, if all of that makes sense in a single sentence. It's like unreal that throughout this whole book, you really can never tell what's reality and what's fictional. I think he did an incredible job with this book at grazing that line so gracefully, a little bit redundant, and again, making the reader so engaged at trying to figure out what exactly is happening and again, what's real and what isn't. And the fact that we probably won't even find out till the end is just such an amazing work of art, because that's how you keep the reader in the story. Like, you're never pulled out of it. There is not a single thing that you go, oh, but that's weird, because the world is incredible and it feels, again, fantastical, even though it's grounded in reality. It's just so good. And the parallels between Carax's works and Carax's life and Daniel's life all together, it's just this sort of pentagram moment, kind of live board situation where everything's connected in some sort of way. And the way that relationships and friendships and parental situations and dynamics, again, from all of these different sides to this book parallel and mirror each other is so like mind-blowing, literally. I think because it's so slow and because it's so lyrical and because it's so whimsical, it doesn't shy away from that mellow tone. It doesn't shy away from having that sadness really peek through and take center stage with this book, especially given everything that Daniel has gone through. And I just find that complexity so fascinating in all of its facets, both in Daniel's character and with everything that's happening around him. And I love that the book also just feels like simultaneously sad whilst still feeling like a warm hug. I love the fact that books in this are just your friend. And I love that whenever life is too much and whenever you need to escape from reality, that's what the characters go to. It's books. Carlos Ruiz Zafón gets it. He gets why books are so special and why they're so magical and why they're so important. And he knows how to transmit that message to the reader in a way that it resonates, and it's unlike anything I've ever read before. And I just can't wait to see, again, if all of this is real, if it's a lie, if it's fantasy, if it's supernatural, like what is it? But I think so far today we've been doing really good, and I have no plans of going to bed so far, at least not anytime soon, because I have a day off tomorrow, so I can generally stay up however long I want, and I just want to read some more of this. Good morning, friends. So today is Monday. Hi, today's my day off. So today the plan is to read as much as I can. I also need to catch up on You because we still haven't finished it. So I do need to do that today. But beside that, I honestly just want to read as much as I can. And I actually have started reading already. I was listening to Project Hail Mary this morning as I was getting ready, and I actually read quite a bit. I think I read like 50 pages. Like, I'm almost at page 200. So all jokes aside, I think it's totally doable for me to finish this book today. So I'm gonna try my hardest to do that. I think I only have like 4-ish hours left of the audiobook. This book is so hilarious, and I will never stop saying that because everybody just needs to know how funny this book is. I love this so much. Like, Ryland doesn't realize how funny he is. Of course he's fictional. Of course he doesn't realize that, but he's generally so funny. And I like the fact that his reactions are realistic. It's like the right amount between, oh my god, I'm fangirling, I'm seeing aliens for the first time, and oh my god, I'm seeing aliens for the first time. And so I liked that the human reaction is so raw and so real, and it seems so frantic, right? Because so many wild things are happening. Like, he's in outer space, he's trying to remember everything that's happening, and beside all of those things, he's trying to come to terms with what he's seeing and getting to know, right? In outer space, in this galaxy that he's currently in. And so it's just been really fascinating to see his reactions towards everything. Rocky, if you've read this book, then you know Rocky. And Rocky has just brought so much life into the book and so many interesting and fascinating assets to it as well, that I am just really excited to see where that goes and how we find out more about what and who Rocky is and how these creatures communicate and how it all works, really, because it's still all so mysterious. I was reading an article yesterday about Andy Weir, and it was an interview for Project Hail Mary. You'll see the dogs walking around. I was reading an interview because I was really really interested to see where astrophage, which is the main thing about this book and the main thing that fuels these ships, the biggest asset really of why the book happens. And so I was researching to see where that had come from, if it's a real thing, if it's not. And he had said that it's a mix of a bunch of different sciences, from biology to chemistry to physics to relativity and a bunch of other different theories, which I found so incredibly complex and interesting, and I definitely could not even begin to comprehend even the slightest bit of it, because that's not at all what my area of study is, like, in the slightest. And so it's genuinely so good to see an author that just goes knee deep into the research process. I'm thoroughly enjoying my time with this. It's great. It's a great time. I also ended up reading a little bit more of Shadow of the Wind yesterday, but it's just basically been a little bit of the same. I don't have any further updates with that because I literally read like 5 pages after I updated you, but I am very close to reading 100 pages today already, and it's like barely noon. So I'll keep listening to this as I tidy up the house, and then I'll be able to read the afternoon away, which I'm really excited about. So let's go. Hello friends, outfit change, a big one. I look all sorts of wild right now with all this earrings and beads and everything. Hi, I finished Project Hail Mary, which feels great. I got a really massive headache earlier and I wanted to do nothing. Today was honestly like a really floppy day. I had a lot of plans for today of like, oh, I'm gonna read so much, and then I'm gonna go out to the coffee shop and I'm gonna read. And I just really wanted it to be like a cozy, non-stressful day. And then it ended up being stressful. It ended up just really souring every plan that I had. There was a really big construction upstairs too, which was like really driving me nuts as well. And everything's just been like plummeting. But I finished Project Hail Mary. I am settling with this one for a 4-star. Primarily the reason why I'm bumping it down a star, it's because, and I don't know if contradiction is the right term that I'm gonna use here. However, the book, the stakes are very high. You're essentially facing a human Earth level extinction on this one. And not only on our Earth, but everything beyond it too. This is like a serious thing that Ryland needs to figure out. And yes, while the stakes are very high throughout the story, there were a lot of moments of just passiveness that I wasn't a fan of. And beyond that, I also found that the way that he recovered from amnesia and slowly started getting his memories back was very convenient. It was almost, if not every time, him being like, oh my god, what's my name? And then suddenly getting like a Stan Raven flashback where he saw everything and he remembered everything. And he remembered, if not all details, then most details. And I found that it always happened at the most convenient of moments and way too easily. I just thought that that part was a little bit too convenient in my opinion, but definitely my favorite part of this was the humor. It was the fact that it seemed so real. Andy Weir really accomplished to write something so complex yet so easy to understand for non-science readers. And also every time that Rocky came up, there's only one alien that we stand in this household, and his name is Rocky. Every time that Rocky came on the page, the sound effects on the audiobook were really good, and this sort of friendship bond that these two have developed was so beautiful. And I think it truly attests to no matter how different we are, we can get along if we truly try. And I just loved the system that they developed, again, how they worked together and how it was just like a unit effort at the end. I absolutely loved every second of that. I was not expecting Rocky to be a part of this story, so when he came up I was like, oh, what's gonna happen with Rocky? And then it really just turned into this really beautiful friendship that I absolutely appreciate. And again, Ryland's character is just extremely likable. You have a character that is uber smart, but also a character that has a lot of sense of humor. And he's just multifaceted, which I really like, because a person is not only just one thing, which I feel a lot of books try and cage characters in that way, and I love that Andy Weir didn't do that. I also again loved his reactions to all of these things. I guess the way that I've been processing it in my brain is it really reminds me of Veronica from Heathers. I guess I was expecting a little bit more with that emotional element that never really came to me. And what I mentioned before, I was really expecting for at least a moment where I could cry or feel very emotional, and it never really got here. I think there were a lot of opportunities with Riley silent because he's a teacher and you can tell all of the care that he has for his students. And so I truly was expecting for something to just, you know, tug at my heartstrings and make me kind of cry or tear up a little bit, but it never really did. I was just laughing through the book because it was funny. First book finished. Will I finish another one? Definitely not Words of Radiance, I'll tell you that right now. Tomorrow is definitely going to be a reading day for me as well. Yes, tomorrow we're definitely going out. Good morning, my loves. So today is Tuesday, obviously, because yesterday was Monday. And today I really want to go out. I told you guys this last night. Shout out to Reed Riordan for sending over this sweatshirt because it's so comfy and like so airy at the same time. And I love it. I don't think I own any navy sweatshirts or hoodies or anything. Nala's right here. It's the outfit of the day. Hello. Comfy. We're gonna read. We're gonna tackle some goals today. That is the plan. So I did sit down this morning and I read some of The Shadow of the Wind. I am now on page 267, which means that I roughly have another 300 pages to go. This book is also driving me nuts. Like I feel like I'm losing my mind as I read this book in like the best way possible. Like clearly I'm loving this. It's the fact that I still can't figure out what's going to happen with this book that again is really making me overthink and is using up all of my brain cells. Like all of them are active right now. I have no idea what happened to Julian and it keeps getting even more confusing as we find out more information. It's like everybody knows the same thing, but then there's things that don't necessarily add up with what another person said. So it's literally a game of cat and mouse at this point to figure out what happened to this man and who's the person that's burning all of these books, because so far the guess it's the devil because it's a character from Julian's stories, but I just don't know if that's true or not. I'd love it to be. It'd be a really cool supernatural twist to the book, but I just need to know why they're burning the books, who's doing it, and truly what happened to Julian. Is Julian alive? Is he dead? It's too much for my small brain, my big heart. It's just it's too much. So I definitely need to find out what happens. Literally just read this quote a few pages ago and oh, I actually read quite a bit this morning. What the heck? Wait a minute. I think I read like 30 pages this morning, so that's pretty cool. Love that for me. I read this quote and I absolutely loved it. Books are just mirrors. You can only see in them what you already have inside of yourself. Why is this writing so beautiful? And I think the most beautiful thing about this book, and I don't know if Carlos Ruiz Zafón, may he rest in peace, I don't know if a lot of what he wrote was purposefully done in a way that it would be quotable, or if he just incidentally wrote these things and they were just beautiful. And I think that's the beauty of this book, that it doesn't feel forced. Yes, let me stop rambling for now and just go to the coffee shop and get some reading done. So let's pack up the bag because I'm gonna take all of the annotation tools with me, obviously, and the camera as well so that I can vlog while I'm there, because I do plan to stay for quite a bit. And let us go. Hello, my lovely sapiens. Today is Wednesday and it is time to check the progress, close out the video, and talk about the things that I learned, the things that I liked, and what I did this past week, and again, what I've learned about myself, which is pretty cool. So as you guys know, I started out the week in the midst of 5 books, and I started a new one because it's such a great idea, and I don't really regret my decision to have done that. Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and I got a good ways into this book. I didn't make this the focus of my week, but I rather read this in the midst of other books. And I will say again, good choice to have started that. You guys saw my progress, you guys saw my thoughts, and truly where I needed to be at the start of this video was with Stormlight, and I'm glad that I followed my heart and that you guys also pushed me in the right direction when I told you guys that this was an option and that I got all the progress that I did. Also, as you guys know, I was in the midst of Shadow of the Wind, and I was also super happy with my progress with this book. This is a book that I started at the start of the month. I didn't really get too much into it in terms of page count, and because I hadn't been reading as actively as I did this past week, I was finding it really hard to pick up anything really, and so this week really helped me set goals for myself with this particular book so that I could get it done in time. And now I'm super close to the end. I am less than 200 pages out from finishing this book, so this is definitely something that's doable by Friday, and I am so excited that I can finally say I finished Shadow of the Wind and that I am most likely gonna rate it 5 stars. And then the one book that I did start and finish was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Definitely a book that was read at the right time and in the right mindset. Even if you're not that deep into the sci-fi genre, this is definitely one that you could read and it will turn you into a believer of the genre. So I absolutely loved this one. And so with that being said, looking at all of the books that I started, finished, or made progress with throughout this week, let's see some statistics. Even though I finished only one book, I also made a lot of progress with the other books. With Shadow of the Wind, I got 56% in, and with Words of Radiance, I got 26% in. So again, if we look at my statistics, I am first of all, which is pretty nice, in the top 1% of readers. My reading streak was 5 days. I had 23 sessions in the past week. I reflected 12 times on my reading. I wrote 254 words, which were my little thoughts. I read a total of 16 hours and 11 minutes. That is roughly exactly what I wanted, 2.6 hours a day. So 2.5 hours each day, roughly. Obviously, the day that I read the most was Sunday because I did have sprints, and then Monday, which was my day off. And this is where I'm really thankful for Basmo because, again, I'm the type of person that has continuously beat herself up because, oh my god, Mel, you didn't read as much, or you could have read more, or you could have finished 3 books. You could have finished all of these in a single week if you only read more. I read 1,088 pages in total this week. So I am honestly pretty proud of myself for this past week. What I will say that I learned about myself this past week is I love tracking my reading. You guys know me. I'm an organizational junkie. I just don't know if I'm a fan of saying I need to read this amount of pages a single day, because then it's like my brain does the opposite where it goes, maybe don't read today and then we'll compensate tomorrow, or I really don't feel like reading today, but I'm gonna force myself to anyway. So I don't know if I'll continue with the daily page count goal because it's definitely not something for me, I've come to find out. But the cool thing is that apps like Basmo really provide me with the things that encourage me as a reader, which is tracking my reading, keeping my notes all in one place. So it was really fascinating to carry this project out this past week and seeing what truly works for me and what doesn't. So yes, you guys, that is it for today. That was the experiment. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to smash that like button down below if you did enjoy it, and let me know down in the comments if you have any sort of reading schedule for yourself. Do you pace yourself out and do you plan around with, I'm gonna finish this amount of books this week, or I'm gonna read this amount of pages a day, or I have deadlines for certain books that I need to read? How do you guys organize yourselves with reading? Have you read any of the books that I'm currently reading or that I finished in this video, or that I even mentioned in this video? Let me know all of that down in the comments. If you reached the very end, let's leave a phone emoji down below in honor of the beautiful sponsor of today's video, which is Basmo. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and if you want more videos and more content and support the channel further, I do have a Patreon that is always linked down below alongside all of my social medias. Once more, thank you so much to Basmo for sponsoring today's video. You can check Basmo out at the top of my description and at the pinned comment on the comment section if you guys would like to download the app and try it out for yourselves. And yes, I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye guys.